Good evening. This is All India Radio. I'm Valsa Williams and with me is Renuka with the evening news. The headlines. Mortal remains of Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat brought to New Delhi. Last rites to be performed with full military honours tomorrow. Nation pays last respects to General Bipin Rawat. Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett expresses condolences at tragic loss of Chief of Defence Staff. Farmer unions announce suspension of agitation against 3 farm laws and related issues. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman says inclusion, investment, innovation and institutions should support global recovery. Parliament passes National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research Amendment Bill 2021. Union Health Secretary reviews COVID-19 situation and response with states and union territories, and commercial international flights to remain suspended till 31st of January next year, says DGCA. As India marches towards administering 150 crore vaccine doses against COVID-19, news about the new corona variant is a cause for concern. In this situation, we appeal to our listeners to get fully vaccinated at the earliest and help others get vaccinated. Please continue to follow these 3 simple steps to stay safe. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact National Helpline numbers 011-2397-8046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. The Indian Air Force aircraft from Sulur carrying the mortal remains of Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat, his wife and defence personnel who lost their lives in the chopper crash has reached Palam Air Base in New Delhi. Shraddhanjali Sabha has begun a short while ago. Civilians can pay tribute to General Bipin Rawat from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at his residence tomorrow. Military personnel will pay respects between 12:30 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. Thereafter, the mortal remains will be taken in a gun carriage for funeral to the Brar Square crematorium. The Indian Army said positive identification of only 3 mortal remains has been possible as of now, that of General Bipin Rawat, Madhulika Rawat and Brigadier L.S. Lidar. Their mortal remains will be released to the next of kin for final religious rites as desired by respective families. Process for positive identification of the remaining mortal remains is continuing. The mortal remains will be kept at the mortuary of Army Base Hospital till completion of positive identification formalities. Appropriate military funerals of all deceased are being planned and coordinated in consultation with close family members. Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett has said General Bipin Rawat was a true leader and a true friend of Israel. Israel's top leadership has expressed condolences to the government and people of India at the tragic and shocking loss of its first Chief of Defence Staff. Naftali Bennett, in a tweet, said his thoughts and prayers are with the families of those who perished in the tragic helicopter crash in India.
Samyukt Kisan Morcha have announced to suspend their agitation against the 3 farm laws and related issues. Addressing a press conference in Delhi, farmer leader Gurnam Singh Charuni said the decision has been taken in the meeting of the farm leaders. He said agitating farmers will start leaving the site of agitation from Saturday. He said farmers will hold a review meeting on the 15th of next month, and if the government does not fulfill its promises, they could resume the agitation. Farmers have been agitating at Delhi borders for about a year. The Parliament had repealed these laws on the first day of the ongoing winter session of the Parliament. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in his address to the nation on the 19th of last month, had announced that the new farm laws enacted in 2019 would be repealed in the winter session of the Parliament. Mr. Modi had appealed to all protesting farmers to go home. The Prime Minister had also said a committee would be constituted to look into all aspects of agriculture. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman today virtually participated in the G20 International Seminar hosted in Bali by the G20 Presidency of Indonesia. Speaking on the G20's theme for the year, Recover Together, Recover Stronger, Mrs. Sitharaman stressed on the fact that for a strong, sustainable, balanced and inclusive recovery of the global economy, it is imperative to ensure collective progress of all countries. She also stressed on the importance of inclusion, investment, innovation and institutions to support the path of global recovery.
India's G20 Sherpa and Union Minister Piyush Goyal has said that India will produce 5 billion vaccine doses next year to strengthen international efforts to fight the pandemic and assist the developing world. He was participating in the first Sherpa meeting held recently, which was convened by Indonesia, the current G20 president. During the meeting, Mr. Goyal expressed support for an inclusive approach with pragmatic and human-centric solutions to global issues. He stressed the need for equality of global health standards, including for travel, vaccine acceptance and documentation, and wider recognition of national pharmacopoeia. On climate change, he called for an increased focus on consumption patterns, technology transfer and circular economy. This was India's first G20 meeting since joining the G20 Troika. India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage has crossed 131 crore landmark milestone today. Union Health and Family Welfare Ministry has said more than 67 lakh vaccine doses have been administered till 7 p.m. today. The ministry said out of the total vaccination, more than 80 crore 94 lakh vaccine doses have been administered as first dose, while over 50 crore 15 lakh doses have been administered as second dose. As part of the nationwide vaccination drive, the centre is supporting the states and union territories by providing them COVID vaccines free of cost.
The Parliament has passed the National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research Amendment Bill 2021, with passing of the bill in the Rajya Sabha today and on the 6th of December in the Lok Sabha. The National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research Amendment Bill 2021 seeks to amend the original Act of 1998 to declare 6 additional National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research as institutions of national importance. These institutes are located in Ahmedabad, Hajipur, Hyderabad, Kolkata, Guwahati and Raebareli. The bill also provides for a council to coordinate the activities among the institutes to ensure development of pharmaceutical education and research. Replying to the discussion in the Rajya Sabha, Health Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia said that the NIPERs are for strengthening and enhancing research in the pharma sector in the country. The minister said the government heard and facilitated the vaccine research and manufacturing sectors to fight the pandemic. Highlighting the importance of indigenously manufactured medicines, he said, with the measures taken by the Prime Minister Modi-led government, the country could administer 85% of population with first dose and 52% were fully vaccinated against COVID-19.
में देश के 10 लाख से ज्यादा फार्मासिस्ट और हमारे फार्मा इंडस्ट्रीज के साथ जुड़े कर्मचारी से लेके सीईओ, एमडी, चेयरमैन सभी का शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहूंगा, जिन्होंने रात दिन काम करके पिछले 2 साल में भारत की कोविड से लड़ाई के दौरान न केवल भारत में दवाई की आपूर्ति सुनिश्चित की है, बल्कि दुनिया के 150 से ज्यादा देशों को उनकी आवश्यकता के अनुसार दवाइयां भी उपलब्ध कराई है। आज 85% लोगों को फर्स्ट डोज एडमिनिस्टर हो गया और 52% से वो लोगों को आज सेकंड डोज में एडमिनिस्टर हो चुका है। ये हमारे देश की उपलब्धि है।
The Ministry of Minority Affairs has released over 90 crore rupees to implement free coaching and allied scheme to assist students or candidates belonging to minority communities in the last 4 financial years. In a written reply in the Lok Sabha today, Minority Affairs Minister Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi said his ministry is providing assistance to minority students by way of special coaching for qualifying examinations for admission in technical, professional courses and competitive examination for recruitment in government services and other equivalent posts under the central and state governments. He said the scheme aims to empower the students belonging to the minority communities and prepare them for competitive examinations to improve their participation in the private and government sector jobs. He added, since inception, 1 lakh and over 19,000 students have been allocated under the Naya Savera scheme.
The Ministry of New and Renewable Energy issued an advisory for the general public on Rooftop solar scheme that no vendor has been authorized by the ministry for setting up rooftop solar plants. The ministry said it has been brought to notice that some Rooftop solar companies or vendors are setting up rooftop solar plants by claiming that they are authorized vendors by the ministry. The ministry added the scheme is being implemented in the state only by local electricity distribution companies, DISCOMs. The ministry advised that residential consumers willing to set up a rooftop solar plant under the scheme can apply online and get rooftop solar plants installed by listed vendors. The consumers need to pay only rates decided by DISCOMs. The Centre today reviewed the public health response to COVID-19 in the light of emergence of Omicron and progress of vaccination with states and union territories. The five-fold strategy of test, track, treat, vaccinate, adherence to COVID-appropriate behavior was highlighted as the mainstay of public health response strategy for effective and timely control and management of COVID-19 and its variants. During the meeting, Union Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan urged the states and UTs to enhance testing and focus on surveillance to ensure early identification of suspected cases for their prompt isolation and further clinical management. They were advised to ensure availability of RT-PCR testing in all districts. He said districts reporting higher case positivity were alerted to monitor the case trajectory on a regular basis and to promptly dispatch positive samples to the Mapped Genomics Consortium labs for whole genome sequencing. It was re-emphasized that all contacts for positive patients are to be traced and tested as per protocol as quickly as possible.
The Directorate General of Civil Aviation has extended the suspension of scheduled international commercial flight operation till the 31st of January next year. This ban shall not apply on international cargo operations and flights specifically approved by the DGCA. However, international scheduled flights may be allowed on selected routes by the competent authority on case-to-case basis. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
स्वाधीनता आंदोलन के दौरान भारतीय जनमानस को उत्प्रेरित कर स्वतंत्रता का अलख जगाने और मातृभूमि के प्रति सेवा, समर्पण और त्याग की ज्वाला प्रज्वलित कर देने वाले अमर गीतों पर आधारित विशेष कार्यक्रम आजादी के तराने सुनना न भूलें। FM गोल्ड 100.1 मेगाहर्ट्ज पर प्रत्येक शुक्रवार शाम 4:45 पर परिक्रमा कार्यक्रम के अंतर्गत आजादी के तराने सिर्फ आकाशवाणी पर।
Best wishes to all consumers for Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Hallmark ensures purity of gold. Always purchase Hallmark gold jewelry. For any consumer-related complaints, please contact National Consumer Helpline toll-free number 14404. Issued in public interest by Department of Consumer Affairs, Government of India. Jago Grahak Jago.
Now here is a review of proceedings in Parliament today. First from the Lok Sabha, writer is Kumar Rakesh of PTI. Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh's statement in both the Houses of Parliament and the passing of a set of bills are the highlights today. Both the Houses functioned in a smooth fashion without any disruptions or adjournments. In Lok Sabha, Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh said a tri-services inquiry team led by Air Marshal Manvendra Singh has started investigation into the helicopter crash that killed Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat and 12 others. Briefing the House on the crash, Mr. Singh said all efforts were being made to save the Indian Air Force Group Captain Varun Singh, the lone survivor of the crash near Kunnur in Tamil Nadu on Wednesday, who is on life support at the military hospital in Wellington. General Rawat, India's first Chief of Defence Staff, his wife Madhulika and 11 other armed forces personnel died when the military helicopter they were travelling in crashed. The last rites of the Chief of Defence Staff will be performed with full military honour, said Mr. Singh. Giving details about the incident, Mr. Singh said General Rawat was on a scheduled visit to the Defence Services Staff College at Wellington to interact with the student officers. The Indian Air Force's Mi-17 V-5 helicopter took off from Sulur Air Base at 11:48 a.m. on Wednesday, which had to land at Wellington at 12:15 p.m., he said. The air traffic control at Sulur Air Base lost contact with the helicopter at approximately 12:08 p.m., said the Raksha Mantri. Mr. Singh said a few locals reported fire in the forest near Coonoor and rushed to the spot where they saw the remains of a helicopter engulfed in flames. Rescue teams from local administration also reached the crash site and tried to rescue the survivors, he said. All those recovered from the wreckage were immediately rushed to the military hospital at Wellington. As per information received, out of 14 persons on board the helicopter, 13 have succumbed to their injuries, Mr. Singh said. Besides the CDS, the dead include his spouse, Madhulika Rawat, his defence advisor, Brigadier Lakhvinder Singh Liddar, Staff Officer Lieutenant Colonel Harjinder Singh and 9 other armed forces personnel, including the Air Force helicopter crew, said Raksha Mantri. Group Captain Varun Singh is on life support at the military hospital in Wellington and all efforts are being made to save his life, Mr. Singh said. Raksha Mantri said the Indian Air Force Air Chief Marshal V.R. Chaudhary has been sent to Coonoor after receiving information about the accident on Wednesday itself, who has taken stock of the situation after visiting the spot and the hospital. Speaker Om Birla expressed grief at General Rawat's untimely demise and said the country had lost a skilled warrior, an outstanding strategist and an experienced leader. Raksha Mantri made a similar statement on the crash in the Rajya Sabha. The members of both the houses stood in silence for a brief while as a mark of respect for the departed souls. In 0 hour, Congress leader Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary said Home Minister Amit Shah had misled Lok Sabha over the issue of the Nagaland firing when he said the security forces had opened fire on civilians in Nagaland after they tried to flee. He also said that a Congress delegation on a visit to Nagaland was stopped at Jorhat by the district officials. Union Minister of State for Parliamentary Affairs Arjun Ram Meghwal said the issue raised by Mr. Chaudhary about the stoppage of the delegation pertained to the state government. On Monday, the Home Minister had expressed the government's regret over the death of 14 civilians in Nagaland's Mon district in 3 consecutive episodes of firing by security forces, the first of which was a case of mistaken identity. Speaker Om Birla on Thursday drew praise from Lok Sabha members for identifying potential members and encouraging them to speak on the floor of the House after a first-time Woman MP known for spearheading self-help groups raised the issue of women's unemployment. BJD MP Pramila Bisoi, who is 73 and speaks only in her mother tongue Odia, raised the issue of women's employment following the COVID-19 outbreak. Asked about her educational qualification, Mr. Mehtab said it is not much, but noted that she is spearheading many self-help groups. The Lok Sabha website says the Aska MP had studied till primary classes. This is India's democracy, Speaker Birla said, adding initially she was reluctant to speak in the House, but now she makes requests for speaking in the House regularly. Speaker Om Birla has taken measures to ensure that maximum MPs raise their issues in every session. His office said women members have spoken 402 times so far during the 6 spells of 0 hour during the ongoing winter session. Earlier, DMK member Kanimori raised the issue of reservation for women in Parliament. The NCP MP Supriya Sule demanded the government to intervene and bring down the high prices of petrol, diesel and domestic cooking gas so that crores of poor people are benefited. Congress MP Karti Chidambaram raised the issue of safety of animals and demanded that the government should constitute a task force to ensure that elephant deaths do not take place at railway tracks. In the post-lunch session, Lok Sabha passed the Central Vigilance Commission Amendment Bill 2021 and the Delhi Special Police Establishment Amendment Bill 2021. Opposition members protested the government's move to extend the tenures of the directors of CBI and the ED up to a maximum of 5 years from the present 2 years, alleging it was arbitrary. BJP members and their allies, however, backed the bills and asserted that they have been brought in for the good and noted that the extension will be given by the same committee which also included the Chief Justice of India and the Leader of Opposition which appoints them. The bills seek to strengthen institutional stability and continuity, they said. Moving a statutory resolution for disapproval of the ordinances which were promulgated to amend the Central Vigilance Act and the Delhi Police Special Establishment Act, Congress MP Manish Tiwari said those were arbitrary, capricious and an exercise of power. BJP member Brijendra Singh noted that the committee, which included the Chief Justice of India and the Leader of Opposition besides the Prime Minister, will decide on the extension of directors' tenure. Hitting out at the opposition, Mr. Singh said it was strange that when earlier governments appointed CBI and ED directors without any cap in their tenure, then democracy was not in danger, but it is now when they have fixed the upper limit of the tenure. AIMIM's Asaduddin Owaisi said the two bills were in violation of the Supreme Court judgment. RSP MP N.K. Premachandran raised similar concerns on the ordinances. TMC member Shaukatur Roy alleged that the bills underline the dictatorial attitude of the government. Minister of State for Personnel, Public Grievances and Pension, Dr. Jitendra Singh, while replying to the lengthy debate on the bills in the evening, said the ordinances were promulgated during the interim period before the current session, as the previous session of Parliament was almost a total washout due to opposition interruptions. Dr. Jitendra Singh said the global average of the heads of similar agencies is 5 years. Adding a longer tenure is required to improve efficiency and continuity. He also said the selection committee of the CBI director, which is also empowered to give the tenure extension, comprises the Prime Minister, the Chief Justice of India and the Leader of Opposition, which needs to be trusted. After the passage of the bill, the House was adjourned for the day. And now a review of proceedings in the Rajya Sabha.
Writer is Sanjeev Chopra of PTI. Rajya Sabha mourned the demise of the CDS General Bipin Rawat and others in the chopper accident. The upper house also passed a bill that seeks to accord the status of Institute of National Importance to 6 more institutes of pharmaceutical education and research, and also set up an advisory council for them. The National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research Amendment Bill 2021 was cleared by the Rajya Sabha on Thursday with voice vote. The bill was cleared by the Lok Sabha on the 6th of December. Replying to the discussion on the bill, Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandaviya said the bill has come with 4 amendments which include qualifying 6 more NIPERs, National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, as institutes of national importance and introducing undergraduate and diploma courses. Mr. Mandaviya said there is a Mohali NIPER which was given National Institute qualification. After this, 6 more NIPERs were set up. There was no clarification whether they are of national importance. The minister said to clarify this and give them a national importance category is one of their amendments. It seeks to amend the National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research Act 1998, which established the National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research at Mohali in Punjab and declared it an institution of national importance. These institutes that will get the Institute of Eminence status newly are those in Ahmedabad, Guwahati, Hajipur, Hyderabad, Kolkata and Raebareli. The NIPERs need to be modelled in the lines of the IITs, the minister said, adding that there is a need to offer undergraduate courses through NIPERs. Participating in the debate, Neeraj Dangi of the Congress said, state governments should also get a place in the Council of Board of Governors of the NIPERs. Ram Gopal Yadav of the SP sought clarity on whether the national importance status would not lead to the end of OBC and SC/ST reservation at the NIPERs.
Ram Gopal Yadav of the SP sought clarity on whether the national importance status would not lead to the end of OBC and SC/ST reservation at the NIPERs. Anil Jain of the BJP noted that the Council for NIPERs would look into various measures like growth of pharma education and other related activities ahead. Abhiranjan Biswas of the TMC said the Standing Committee had made many recommendations which have not been taken into account in the bill. The Rajya Sabha also saw regular sitting of the 0 hour and question hour. Ahead of the Uttar Pradesh Assembly polls, BJP MP Harnath Singh Yadav raised the Sri Krishna Janmabhoomi land dispute issue. Raising the issue of caste-based panchayats and Khap panchayats, NCP member Fawzia Khan said they are taking law into their own hands and ostracizing people, humiliating them and calling for a social boycott. Nominated member Narendra Jadhav made a plea for setting up of the All India Judicial Services on the lines of Indian Administrative Service, IAS and other allied services. In 1991, the Supreme Court in a landmark judgment also laid down that AIJS be set up, but it has not seen the light of the day, he said. Later, Rajya Sabha was adjourned for the day after passing the NIPER bill. And that is all in Parliament Review.
The Centre has revised guidelines for procurement, allocation, distribution and disposal of coarse grains. Distribution period of jowar has been increased to 6 months and ragi to 7 months from the earlier period of 3 months. This would increase procurement and consumption of these commodities, as the state would have more time to distribute these commodities in target public distribution system and other welfare scheme. Provision of interstate transportation of surplus coarse grains through FCI has been incorporated to cater for advanced demand placed by consuming state before the start of procurement. The biennial election to the 25 seats of Karnataka Legislative Council will be held tomorrow in 20 local body authorities constituencies. There are 90 candidates in fray, 98,846 voters and 6,072 polling stations. The BJP and Congress are contesting from 20 seats each, JDS in 6 constituencies, and there are 33 independent candidates in fray.
Enforcement Task Force of the Commission for Air Quality Management in Delhi NCR has ordered for immediate closure of 228 numbers of units and sites. Rigorous inspections in units in the NCR across air pollution contributing sectors continue through 40 flying squads constituted by the Commission. Enforcement Task Force of the Commission is reviewing the field level action and inspection reports of the flying squads on a daily basis. International Maritime Organization Council has awarded Certificate of Commendation to the Indian Navy, Indian Coast Guard and Master along with crew members of tugboat Ocean Bliss. The award has been given for exceptional and courageous efforts towards rescue operation of MT New Diamond.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi today participated in the first Summit for Democracy at US President Joe Biden's invitation. This virtual summit envisages participation of leaders from government, civil society and the private sector. Sources said this closed-door session saw interventions from 12 select countries, including India. In his remarks, Prime Minister Modi recalled that exactly on this date 75 years ago, India's Constituent Assembly held its first session. He highlighted India's civilizational ethos as one of the original sources of democracy. The Power Ministry is celebrating Energy Conservation Week under Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav from 8th to 14th of this month. Various activities are being undertaken by Power CPSUs as part of the celebrations. The Bureau of Energy Efficiency has been organizing national-level painting competitions on energy conservation for school children. This year, the theme for the competition is Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, Energy Efficient India and Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, Cleaner Planet.
NHRC Chairperson Justice Arun Mishra has greeted the nation on the eve of Human Rights Day. The day is celebrated on the 10th of December every year since 1950 in commemoration of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights UDHR by the United Nations in 1948. Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, United States and United Kingdom are among the top countries in the world, excluding India, where All India Radio live streams are most popular. In the latest ranking of countries for top All India Radio live streams on news on AIR app, AIR World Service has quite a significant following in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Pakistan, Switzerland, Nigeria, Singapore, United States, Afghanistan and Bangladesh.
Indian weightlifter Jilli Dala Behra has won the gold medal in the women's 49 kg category at the ongoing Commonwealth Weightlifting Championships at Tashkent in Uzbekistan. The Sports Authority of India in a tweet said, Dala Behra lifted the total weight of 167 kg with 73 kg in snatch and 94 kg in clean and jerk to win the yellow medal.
In news just in, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and NSA Ajit Doval have reached Palam Air Base to pay their tributes in the Shraddhanjali ceremony of CDS General Bipin Rawat and other armed forces personnel who lost their lives in the chopper crash. And now before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Mortal remains of CDS General Bipin Rawat brought to New Delhi. Last rites to be performed with full military honours tomorrow. Nation pays last respects to General Bipin Rawat. Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett expresses condolences at tragic loss of Chief of Defence Staff. Farmer unions announce suspension of agitation against 3 farm laws and related issues. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman says inclusion, investment, innovation institutions should support global recovery. Parliament passes National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research Amendment Bill 2021. Union Health Secretary reviews COVID-19 situation and response with states and union territories and commercial international flights to remain suspended till 31st of January next year, says DGCA. And with that we end the evening news. Good night.